Hi everyone, here's the Bookchemist once again, and today I'm reviewing Ancillary Justice by Leckie, a book, a science fiction novel which won every major science fiction prize out there. It won the Nebula, it won the Hugo Award, it won the Arthur C. Clarke Award. I just had to check out what all the fuss was about. I heard so much about this book, so many people, so many reviewers love this novel. And the first thing I'm going to mention, talking about this novel, the first peculiar and genius thing about it is its attitude towards gender, both in terms of grammar and of characters. This is not going to spoil you anything. I'm always rather careful in my reviews not to spoil any element of the book, even beyond the plot. This is something you find out by yourselves on page 3 of the book. But Ancillary Justice is set in a future, mostly in and around some kind of futuristic space empire where gender plays absolutely no role in the lives of people. They do not ascribe any type of importance or role or consideration upon it. As a consequence, even their grammar reflects this. And this book, the English version, I'm very curious about translations of this novel in other languages. The English version always uses the feminine pronoun when it refers to characters, no matter their gender. Sometimes you find out that a character you thought about as she for a long time is actually a man. Sometimes you are confirmed they're a woman, but that doesn't matter to these people. And this offers an amazing opportunity and a big problem, but a good problem at that. The obvious amazing opportunity is that Ancillary Justice allows you to experience this world through the eyes of somebody who actually lives in it, through the eyes of somebody who grew up in a futuristic society where gender actually does not matter. Which sounds easy on the surface, you know, we can all imagine a future where gender plays no role in the life of someone and men and women can reach the same levels in society and in the world, but that is actually incredibly difficult for us to fully imagine, because our societies, the world we live in, still ascribes so much importance and so many ideas to gender, and gender comes with so many implications still nowadays. And what Leckie does with her grammar in Ancillary Justice is the closest you can get to truly seeing people beyond their gender, because most of the time you really do not know whether the characters you read about and you care about are actually men or women, and after a while you stop really caring. That happens actually pretty soon into the narrative. The problem I was talking about, though, is that ideas, because of all those ideas we associate with gender, these characters come without any type of preconception. I've talked about in recent reviews about this idea that you never read in a vacuum and that every book you read is inserted in their own genre in order to work, and that you'll always read your books in the light of every other books you've ever read. That works on a smaller level too. It works with characters too. When you read about a character with certain features, the fact that he is a man or a woman is one of those features. Not having that, not being able to understand that, actually offers Leckie amazing opportunities, because she can work outside these standards and these stereotypes, so that when you have a woman character who is strong and a killer and determined and fearless, she does not necessarily, you don't have to see her through the lens of the so-called kick-ass woman character that has become very much a staple in recent popular culture, and that is very much the damsel in distress type of figure turned upside down, which is something, but is lazy in terms of character building, if you see what I mean. You can see these characters for all the complex, messed up, problematic, amazing human beings that they are, theoretically speaking, and I'll come back to this theoretical side in a second. The other big problem and opportunity that Ancillary Justice has, one thing I have to say about Leckie is that she truly decided that she was going to write a fucking difficult novel. This is really a hell of a novel to write. All these ideas, the ideas in this thing, all the complexities must have been a pain to work through. Kudos for that, absolutely. The other problem with the novel, difficulty for the writer and also for the reader, is that its main character and narrator is a ship. The narrator is a spaceship for most of the novel. How this makes sense, and it does make sense, and it makes admirable sense, and Leckie is amazing I keep calling her Leckie, who knows. She's amazing at conveying what being a spaceship feels like, which is one of the great things. These processes of defamiliarization, the ability of making you see the world and the universe through these bizarre perspectives, are one of the amazing things of the science fiction genre. The point is that she is not only a ship, the main character is not only a ship, she is also a whole bunch of people going around different places at the same time, seeing things at the same time, and conveying their experience at the same time through the narrative, which is usually done in a neat enough way by dividing different experiences in different paragraphs. This is not by any means an easy novel. This is not really a relaxing type of read. You lean back and just enjoy. You have to do your homework in order to enjoy this novel. But the mess is contained up to a certain point. The mess is it is possible to navigate it without too much of a headache, especially once you get the gist of how this thing works. On this level, in the way it mediates with all of these problems and conveys the experience of people living in a far-flung future, following ideals and beliefs very different from ours, people who up to a certain point may not even qualify fully as human in our conception of the term, in this Ancillary Justice is definitely successful. It reminded me a lot of Barsk by Schoen, novel I read a couple of years ago. Another science fiction novel about a far-flung future where the characters up to a certain point are difficult even just to imagine, but it all the same manages to convey their experience in a rather beautiful way. Do I sound very enthusiastic? Probably not, and the reason why that isn't is that I believe Ancillary Justice suffers from a bad case of what I call the Dune syndrome, which may very well be a problem for a limited amount of readers, me included. Dune is a classic, Frank Herbert's science fiction novel I read a few years ago. It's a classic, it's a cult novel, so many people love it. I keep thinking about it. That reading experience, reading Dune, was one of the strangest reading experiences of recent years, and I'm very glad I read it, but in my review of Dune I mentioned something that didn't fly that well with me when I was reading that book, which is a problem with characters. Characters in Dune are these futuristic people living in this complex space empire, and they are all rather perfect because they are somehow trained through meditation to be basically human robots with their emotions always confined, and they're always very wise, and they are always very careful with their language because they're conscious of the within witticisms in conversation there can hide some danger or some secret messages and such, which makes all of them very difficult to relate to. But beyond that simple thing, it makes it sort of difficult for me to care about their lives. And the very same happened with Ancillary Justice. All of these people are, some of these people are the nobility of this space empire, and they believe they are so cool and so great, and that this empire will never disappear. And some other people have their doubts about these things, and some of these are their servants, some of these collaborate with this oppressive space empire, but you never really feel like you connect with their motives. I didn't that much. It always felt like they all had very strong opinions on intergalactic foreign policy, and that's great, and I'll talk about it in a second, but I don't think I really knew any of these people beyond that. It has nothing to do with the gender thing and with the grammar of the book. It has everything to do with the fact that this is a book with so many different characters. It would have been impossible to give all of them well-rounded personalities, but at the end of the day I found that I didn't care too much even for just a handful of main characters scattered throughout the book. Not even that much about the narrator and main character. Those foreign policies reflections though, top-notch, as in Dune obviously. There's some beautiful threads in this novel about how luxuries and how a certain standard of life is always in a specific system such as that of this galactic empire, and possibly that of our society is always attained because somebody else somewhere is suffering. And one of the functions of society, of civilization, as is defined in one of the bleakest passages in Ancillary Justice is to make this suffering and take it away so that you don't have to see it, you don't have to experience it for firsthand, and you don't have that sense of guilt. In that sense, the novel is beautifully defamiliarizing. It makes you look at your own world under a new light, and it is completely praiseworthy and admirable. Overall, I think my problem with Ancillary Justice was very much a problem of genre. Just as with another book that was a short story collection, which is Cathedral by Raymond Carver, reviewed recently, where I can definitely see the greatness of the novel. I can definitely see the beauty of the text, even with Carver's generally plotless, epiphanic, beautifully crafted short stories. I can see the greatness. It's just not my cup of tea. It's not really the kind of thing I read for, and it doesn't give me that much entertainment or enjoyment. For that reason, I do not think I'm going to read the rest of Leckie's trilogy, but by all means, if you read Ancillary Sword and Ancillary Mercy, which I think are the second and third volume in the series, let me know what you think about them, let me know how they are, and let me know about Ancillary Justice, of course. Did you like it? Did you actually love it? Could you actually connect very deeply with the characters, and were you very much committed to their stakes? Let me know in the comments. I'm very curious about all this, and thanks as always for watching. In a second you'll find links to my ancient review of Dune and to my review of Barsk. If you liked Ancillary Justice, I'm 100% sure you're going to love Barsk. Let me know what you think in the comments once again. I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.